Welcome to Jesus Centric Life. I'm Donna. I'm here with Pastor Josh. And today we are talking about integrity.
Yes.
Now, I usually come to the table ready to go. and I've got the topic and we kind of talk a little bit about it and then we go on the air. And today, earlier, I was like, what do you want to do? And you were like, integrity. Like you knew it.
So last Friday when we tried to record episodes and our computer wasn't working, I didn't like one of them that you had on the table, so I was kind of like thinking, well, if she doesn't like it, I should probably come up with something else. And then so I was walking out to my car because I had a shut-in visit, and I pulled my keys out of my pocket, and this piece of trash fell down on the ground. And I'm big on not littering. Like I'm not a, big do every green thing to save the earth. But when it comes to littering, that's a simple thing that doesn't affect anybody to just pick up your trash.
Right.
But when it dropped out, I thought to myself, I'm like, it's cold out here. I've had a rough week. Like I'm not feeling very good. I'm on this medicine that makes me more cold. So like the cold is making me rough. I don't have to stop and pick it up. And I just kept walking to my car.
Oh.
And then I'm not thinking about integrity yet, but as I'm like driving back and I'm thinking, I shouldn't have done that. Like that kind of wasn't what I do. I don't do that. It took 1 second to stop and clean it up, and I didn't. Right. And that's quite frankly a lack of integrity. Right. There's something I believe in that I believe other people should do, but because of my circumstances, I don't do it.
Yeah, when we were talking through what we were going to talk about today, you gave the definition. It's one that I've used with people before. It's what you do when nobody else is looking, right?
Right.
And for me, I'm a big one on integrity. Mm-hmm. It's really important to me. I go to the grocery store and back in the day, and I would get too much change back. I was that person that would be like, hey, you gave me too much change.
Right.
But my son called me out on integrity, because I'm also the person that hates to put their their cart away. Okay. And I would leave it. I would leave it in front of the car. I'd leave it beside the car. Yeah. And one day, Josh called me and he goes, hey, Mom, I was listening to this speaker about leadership, and he was talking about integrity. And do you know when you don't put your cart away, you lack integrity. That's a total integrity issue. And I was like, right to my heart. Yeah. Not only did he call me out, he proceeded to lecture me for like 45 minutes on why I lacked integrity because I never put my cart away. And now, I don't care if it's snowing, if it's raining or what.
The cart away.
I put the cart away.
Yep.
Because it's a big deal. Integrity is a really, really big deal. Now, I'm going to put a caveat in here. Please don't judge us for the one time.
For the lack of integrity,
Yeah, we're just being transparent here. But why is integrity such a big deal?
Yeah, I think it comes back to like who we are when nobody's watching. And I'll even go a step farther. I think integrity actually becomes integrity not just when nobody else is watching, but when it's hard to follow through with your values, right? Like that's the thing that dawned on me in that situation. It's like if I ever had an excuse to let a piece of trash drop, that Friday would have been it. Like I had every reason. Like and my logic was valid. Well, but that's what makes integrity. It's when there's every reason not to do the thing that you believe is right, and you still do it. Like I had every right. It's one piece of trash. There's tons of people that litter way more than I do. Like, what's the big deal? But that's the hard part about integrity. It's easy to have integrity when things are easy. It's hard when they're not. And I think as a leader, like who we are in the hard times is more important than who we are in the easy times. And I think that's as a leader, as a parent, as somebody that's an example for others, which we as Christians are supposed to be, like what we do in those moments, not just that nobody sees us, but what we do in those moments when it's hard to do what we believe is right.
So is it possible to be a Christian and lack integrity?
Yeah. Yeah, because a Christian is one who's saved by the grace of Jesus, and there's a lot of horrible Christians, and I'm a sinner and I'm the worst, right? Like I lacked integrity and I'm still saved by my Savior. But I think it's one of these things of like, I guess why we talk about it isn't because it's essential for being a Christian, but it's important for your leadership, that people see you as someone who can be trusted to do the right thing, trusted to make the right choice, trusted to handle themselves correctly even when things are hard. And I think that's where integrity becomes really important. It's not in our, so we've talked about this before, we kind of have two different righteousness when it comes to being a Christian. So I have my righteousness before God, that's his passive righteousness. So God looks down at me and he doesn't see my sins. He sees Jesus Christ dying for my sins, covering me in his blood, being baptized and buried into his death and his resurrection, right? That's my passive righteousness. I don't have to do anything to have that. But there's also this, what we call active righteousness. And that's how I interact with other people, how people see me. Do they see me as a good person? Do they see me as important? And that becomes really important. Integrity is a big part of how other people see me.
So why do you feel like that becomes important?
Because if you can trust that I'm doing the right thing, even when you don't understand my motives, you can have a bigger trust for me as a person because I've acted in such a way of integrity. You can trust the heart behind me because you don't just see me as someone who, is taking the easy way out because, things got hard. Like, I think when we gain that integrity, you see me do and you'll see me do wrong things too, but the more you see me doing the right things, the more you see, well, this is somebody I can trust, somebody I can follow, somebody that's cares about me. And all those are integrity.
Yeah. It's a little bit hard to get called out on our integrity, isn't it?
Yeah. And we probably should be as Christians. Like, our integrity matters, right?
Right. Yeah, I didn't appreciate it when my son called me out, but he was absolutely right, and I've changed since then. Yeah. But if the definition of integrity is what you're doing when nobody else is looking, I want to push this just a little bit.
Yeah.
Then why does it really matter? Nobody saw you do that. Nobody saw me leave a cart. Okay, your wife did one time, and she also chewed me out. But other than that, why is it such a big deal if it's part of our witness? That's what I hear you saying. But if nobody's witnessing it, why does it really matter?
Because it's who I am as a person. And I think you can easily say, well, nobody else sees us doing it, but we are. Like one of the, I don't know what, well, and this is a weird one to talk about. Well, one of the integrity things like that church leaders will talk about sometimes is, and you and I have talked about this, that like we tithe to our church. Like that's not negotiable. And the thing that most people will say, and they've done research on this, when church leaders are tithing to their church, the people will. When the church leaders are operating with that integrity, the people will. But the people don't know that we give.
I was just gonna say
right?
that.
And I could be saying that I give, and you have no idea of knowing. And it's not if I say that I give or not; it's I actually do it. And so, how does that trickle down? I have no clue how that works. Now, again, probably the only person that does is our financial secretary, and he keeps that confidential. So he would. I don't know if he looks into it, if I actually do or not, but he, sees what comes through. But like, there's just something about it that when we act with integrity in a way that nobody sees, that it creates a culture that, and I don't know why that is. I don't think it's like this deeply spiritual thing that like when I give, the church gives. Like, I don't think it's that, but I think like when we act with integrity, it does matter. And that would be an example that they've actually studied that it holds. When the pastor and church leaders give, the people give. Yeah.
I have to believe, like you said, it's I don't know, it just goes deep. It sets an example. Yeah. It's caught, right?
Yeah.
It's just caught.
Yeah.
And I think they know that in the ways that just how you handle yourself and you present yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, the Proverbs, I love this. Proverbs 10, there's a lot of Proverbs on integrity, but Proverbs 10:9 says, whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but he who makes his ways crooked will be found out. And I think it's that reality of that. Well, and here might be the worst part of integrity, It's the fear of if they found out who I really was, right? And that is damaging and dangerous. If they found out who I really was, then what would they think? There's a feeling of fakeness, of falseness when we're not walking in that integrity. And again, when we fail to live up to our integrity, that's where I think like we should admit that to a safe person. We should confess that. We should bring that into the light because it's not what's in the light that can cause problems. It's what's in the darkness, what we're hiding, what the unconfessed sins, what the that fear of what we'll do if people find out is almost more damaging than people just finding out.
And don't you feel that it's a really slippery slope? It's easy to get on that slope of living in the darkness because that it's almost like it's a rust that continues to wear at it. When I was younger, my parents used to vacation at Padre Island. And on the weekends, Padre Island back then became this like the sand would be like a way that cars could go up and down. They would cruise the beach. And I remember begging my dad one time. I was like, can we please just cruise the beach? Can we take the big Chrysler and go cruise the beach? And my dad looked at me and he said, no, I don't want to get rust on it. And I said, but we can go to the car wash afterwards. You know, I had all the answers. Can we just go cruise it? Like I wanted to do it with my mom and dad, right?
Yeah.
And my dad said, but there's a chance I could not get all the salt away when I wash it. And if just a little salt gets on the undercarriage, it could rust it. And he was just so like adamant that there's no way to get it all gone, and so I don't want to put myself in that situation. It was such a great life lesson for integrity because we start doing a little and it can start being that salt that just wears away and brings this rust that's so damaging into our spirit, into who we are.
I think that's good. And how it affects those around us. Proverbs 27, the righteous who walk in his integrity, blessed are his children after him. And I think that's like just I think as church workers and even people that are, if you're a Christian and trying to live as a Christian, like your kids see not only what you do out in public, but what you do behind closed doors. And the worst example that we can set for our kids as church workers, as Christians, is that I'm a different person in the church in front of people than I am, at home. And that because like my kids learn more from the integrity that I have in my house than what I do up front, right? And anything I do good up front or do good in leading other people is going to be negated if I'm not the same person in my house.
Right.
And again, the church doesn't know what's happening in my house. But what's most important, it's how my kids see me, how, and integrity is one of those things that, and this is the way I had to explain this, kind of a little heavy, but like, who do I want speaking at my funeral? Who do I want speaking at my funeral? Do I want the people from the, Colorado district of the LCMS? Do I want the top church gurus? Do I want the people talking about all the things that I did at church or accomplished? Or do I want my kids or grandkids speaking about how much dad loved them and how he walked with them and how his faith wasn't just what he talked about up front, but it was something he lived it and he passed it on to me. Like my greatest accomplishment for me, and this is where integrity comes in, like, is that I have kids that raise their grandkids, that raise their grandkids, that raise their grandkids to know the love and grace of Jesus. And to do that, I have to walk with integrity in my house, in my home, and in what I do with even what my kids don't see. Because I don't want to be fake around them either.
What do you feel are the greatest challenges to integrity today? What do you feel like is threatening people's integrity in our culture today?
Yeah, I think it's kind of what I said before. There's every excuse not to. Right? Like I think integrity, for good people, integrity is easy when everything's okay. I think it's a challenge, like when we have challenging weeks, it's like, well, I'll just slip a little bit on what I see as right and doing what's right. Because I think like we all have a sense of of what's right and wrong. And hopefully that's very much shaped by Christianity. But like, if you're listening to this podcast, for instance, and you don't think it's a big thing to let a piece of litter drop, like that's not a part of your integrity, but it is a part of mine. And so like, now again, my integrity is shaped first and foremost by Jesus. But who I am and what I value should be lived out. But I think it's just hard to, when things are hard, it's easy to say, well, this is just a little deal. It's just one piece of trash. It's just one little rude comment. It's just one little snarky remark. Snark is fine as long as, it's humor, but if it's the wrong place, like, and so those things are, it's one little sin. It's one little misstep. It's one little, and I think the problem with one little, especially when it's not confessed, is that it snowballs.
It becomes that rust.
Yeah. Like nobody sets out like, and then we see pastors in ministry that do dumb stuff. Nobody sets out to do that. But I think when they let their integrity slip just little bits, it causes an erosion. And I think that's why, like, I don't want to make this into like fundamentalism or moralism that you always have to do the right thing. But I think like unconfessed lapses in integrity are like a bigger deal than sometimes we think they are. And so I think when we fail to follow through with our integrity, we do need to confess it. When we sin, we need to bring it to God so that it can be brought into the light so that we can, be forgiven. And yeah.
When Joshua was younger, I don't know if you remember, you were older. If you remember the Super Bowl where Janet Jackson had a costume malfunction, she was singing with Justin Timberlake. We were at some friend's house that he was growing up with, and there was a lot of couples there, and we were watching it. And as soon as it happened, Joshua ran into the room, and he walked up to his dad, and he said, "But did you look?" Because we were in a season where we were teaching Josh to protect his eyes.
Okay.
When you walk by the Victoria's Secret, look the other way. When an image comes up on TV, you got to look the other way. And so here's this moment where he was asking his dad, but did you look the other way? Did you protect it? And his dad had, and they had a great discussion about it. But he didn't even know that Josh was aware of that, right? Yeah. But in that moment, it could have gone one of two ways. And it could also have been a teachable moment of, I looked, and I shouldn't do that.
Right.
But, I think you never know when your integrity is going to be challenged. Yeah. You never know when that salt that my dad was so adamant that we couldn't even take the car for a second on. But because that rust can just take our lives. Yeah. And we don't want to be in a position where we go down that slippery slope.
Yeah, and and I think that and that's integrity too, is to admit when we fell short. Like I don't think integrity is that we always are perfect at doing the right thing, but it is that we acknowledge that, and when we fail our kids, how do we confess? When we mess up, like how do we confess? And confess to the people that we hurt, and ultimately confess to God. But I think but integrity is understanding that all those things matter. How we act when I'm seen and unseen, how I act when things are hard and things that are easy. It's just to understand that those things matter and they're important.
Now there's another side of integrity. When doing the right thing can disappoint people, or like you sharing that you just walked away from that piece of paper, and we're using minors right now.
Yeah.
Me not putting the card away. Some people may be like, "What, Donna Patton? You know better than that."
Yeah.
And
some are like, "It's not a big deal, you guys. If that's your only problem," and they're not our only problems, by the way.
Yeah, but there are big issues where we have to do the right thing, and sometimes that can hurt people or not meet their expectations. Yeah. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think I would just start out that expectations are impossible to meet. Like, we can't meet everybody's expectations, right? Like when I do premarital counseling with people, I, have them do like a wish list of like, what things do you want your spouse to do? And I say, I tell them to put it out there, to put it in the open. Now, understand your future spouse, that may not be possible, right? Like, I want you to make $1 billion and I want to be rich. Well, they can't guarantee that. Like, but to have those expectations spoken is really important. But the reality is as leaders, as people, we're going to have people that are looking to us for certain things, and we can't meet all their expectations, and we can't have long drawn out conversations always about how we didn't meet their expectations. And I think we just have to understand that that's going to happen. And I think that's where integrity does come in, because I think integrity helps other people say, I don't agree with what you decided, but I know the character, I know the heart that you have, and so I can be mad at what was decided without distrusting you, because I know that your integrity is important. And so I think that's another part of integrity that's so valuable and so significant, that we are going to disappoint people, but integrity can help them get over some of the disappointment.
Do you believe that God is constantly refining our integrity?
Yep. And there's, like I said, there's a lot of parts of that, like what we do that's right and wrong according to the Bible, how we live out our values, right? Like, sometimes you're going to break your integrity and it's a sin. Sometimes you can break your integrity and it's just that you broke a culture that was valuable to you. And all those are, and there's a lot of facets to that, but God's always working on it. He's always helping me through the lens of other people see who I am and how other people perceive me. Because I think integrity is not just that I'm doing the right thing, but that how people perceive me. Like, and there's a lot, I don't know. We could go on another hours and hours on this.
And God's going to continue to shape us for the rest of our time here. Yeah. So today's lesson is pick up the paper, put the cart away, and don't drive on the beach.
There you go. You got it.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Thank you, Pastor, and have a great day.